Hello beautiful soul, welcome to one more video, and today what we're going to talk about is about self-hatred, because most of us, we carry a kind of self-hatred in a way or another and we don't realize it. Basically it has to do with self-judgment, because we carry a kind of self-judgment and we're always kind of pressuring ourselves to do good, and we're comparing ourselves to something or someone most of the time, and with that we block our own way. We do not allow ourselves to grow. We don't allow ourselves to mature in a certain way in life and emotionally, spiritually. It's important for us to understand why we carry it and what we can do to change it, to release it. For example, I grew up in a household that was very toxic. My mother, her good morning would be cursing everything, and nothing was ever good. Everything had to be in her way, and we always had to do everything to please her. There was also another aspect that I discovered later on, that my father was not my real father, and my family, they always lied about it. They always kept hidden, and life brought to me strangers would ask about my father, and I had no idea what they were talking about it at that time. And this, I was already basically around 10 years old, so I had to carry a lot in life. Not only that, but many other things that I kept carrying for a long time. And I got to a point where I went to ended up my life, and that didn't happen because of a friend. I don't know how, I don't remember exactly. I picked up the phone before doing it, and I ended up opening up about everything that I was carrying alone, because even though I tried to share with family and they would shut me off, saying that that was a lie, that you have to obey always. And at that time was my mom, that in fact was my aunt, because I was raised by my aunt, and also with that contributed to feeling of abandonment, because my mother was never that present. So, there was a bunch on my plate that I carried by myself. So my friend was able to talk me out, but as soon as I hung up the phone, a very strong feeling came to me, like a strike of a lightning. It was almost as if this feeling had a very strong voice, and I remember that I spoke out loud. So I said to myself, I will never allow anybody else to dictate my life and my own feelings and how I feel about myself and life. At that point, I recognized that I got people's ideas, beliefs and projections and expectations, that I was trying to fulfill the expectations and was never good enough. So what it happened at that point was this recognition arise very strongly from my heart. Remember your joy. Remember how you wake up every morning joyful. You're always singing. You're always laughing at things and at yourself. That's who you are. At that point, that's what it came to me. That's who you are. Because at every morning I would wake up, I would have my shower to go to university at that time. I would just put some music and I would sing, and that was the feeling that arose. So that was a very important point in my life, to recognize that I accepted to see myself through my own eyes, through my own lenses, instead of someone else's projection, someone else's ideas and beliefs. So it was very important to see this kind of self-judgment. Before that situation, I was just carrying tons of self-judgment, because as soon as I was hearing people telling me that I was not good enough, and I even remember one point in my life, even teachers would call me dumb and humiliate me in front of the whole class. So everything I was just taking in as if they knew it more than myself, that is inside myself. That point where I was allowing people to dictate my own image. So that realization that I was taking people's ideas was very important, to recognize that I'm the only one here inside myself. I'm the only one who can see the beauty of myself, not others. It was very important for me to recognize that nobody else external to me had any power or any way to see how I see myself and how I can see myself. because I'm the one living with myself. I'm the one living my own experience in life, and nobody can dictate that to us. So it's important for us to recognize that we carry self-judgment, but because of external expectations. And because of that external expectations, we start to compare ourselves to what we think and imagine that they need from us. So it's important to us to get this point of recognition of our own uniqueness, because what others are saying as if it's the truth of ourselves, when it's not, is the way that they are judging, is the way of what they are caring about themselves, they are projecting onto others, and we do not need to accept that. So we can step out of that idea and we can disregard those kind of thoughts out of our own head, because it's people's idea, not our own. So why we carry self-hatred? So it's important for you to recognize where they are coming from, because for me, for example, it was built up through what I was seeing around me, what I was hearing around me, and that I could never question authority at all, and I was always the one wrong. I could never question someone older than me. So one thing that is very important for you to recognize in your own life and in yourself is that if you receive this kind of conditioning that you should never question authority, if you carry your inner voice, your inner critique behaving in a way with authority, it means that you're never gonna question those conditioning, because you learned that authority should never be questioned. And in a way, our ego behaves in a way with certain kind of authority, saying bad things about ourselves, because that's what we heard from outside most of the time. It makes you not question the beliefs that you're holding about yourself, and because you do not question those kind of beliefs, you never go beyond it, you never discard them, you never question them, and you never let it go of them, because of that idea of not questioning authority and your mind behaving as an authority in itself. So you're never gonna pass beyond that kind of conditioning. This is a very important point where it needs your recognition within yourself. Do you see it yourself, your inner critique, as an inner authority? If yes, you have to recognize, and once you recognize, you have to say that you yourself, that no conditioning has any power over you, and you can always question that kind of conditioning at any time based on your own freedom of choice. That's a point that it's a very subtle point that it passes through us and we never recognize it because we don't see it that way. And when we don't question, we punish ourselves as if we're doing something wrong, and then it's a vicious cycle that we self-judge and the inner voice as authority critiques us, say bad things about ourselves, we believe that is true, and then we go again self-punishing, and we go on and on. After this recognition, allow yourself to be the way you are right now. Stop judging yourself. Just let it be. You don't need to question, you don't need to justify. Stop any kind of justification within yourself when minor mistakes are made. Mistakes are there because it helps us to mature in life. It helps us to grow mentally, emotionally. So the device that we call mind, that is a recording device, it learned that thing as a reality. It takes things as truth and repeats to ourselves most of the time as, look, this is what you learned, this is what you consumed as truth, and that's what I'm repeating in your head because you believe that for so long. So it's time for you to allow yourself to be where you are at without judgment, because in this journey the self-hatred is in fact just the self-love not recognized yet. That's the truth of self-hatred. Self-hatred in itself is just a part of yourself that it's in need of self-love and acceptance. And in fact, self-love is just nothing more, nothing less than just pure acceptance of yourself as you are, where you are, and whatever you're doing in your own expression. Because a rose that was raised at home, it's not different or better than a rose that grew on top of a mountain. Both has its own beauty, has its own value and worthiness, because they have their own uniqueness of the environment, what they learn, what they express, and the way that they expressed. We are just different expressions of one being expressing itself. And that's your moment of accepting the beauty that you are, because you are unique in your own experience. You're unique in your own way of discovering yourself. You need to just allow yourself to be spontaneous, to accept your spontaneity, to accept your own expression of yourself, and allow that to take place instead of you micromanaging yourself and micro-judging yourself every single step. So for the next 7 days, question your beliefs and your conditioning. Allow yourself to accept yourself as you are, where you are right now, without judging. Allow yourself to be spontaneous. Allow your mistakes to be just expression of yourself. Just see the happening of things. It just happened. Just because it doesn't go through your own expectations or the expectations that we believe that it should be, because we learn from whatever environment we were, sometimes that things, they just happen the way it happens, and you allow yourself to grow and mature, learning more about yourself, not criticizing yourself. And allow recognition of your simple joy, of moments where you are just feeling free and expressing yourself without self-judgment, because your life is not a competition at all. So you don't need self-judgment. You don't need to compare yourself to something that is just in your head. The beginning is gonna be hard because we're used to believe that thing is true. But once you recognize that you carry that thing, the power of itself start being less strong, because you start to recognize what you carry. And if it rises, you just look at it and you say, thank you, but I don't need you anymore. Thank you. You did your purpose when it was needed. Now it's not needed anymore. Let it go of the judgment and the comparison, and keep doing things. And see for yourself how you're gonna see what is rising from you. What is your own expression of being yourself? What is your own emotions? Just allow it to be. And you don't need to criticize, you don't need to compare, you don't need to hold on to this conditioning anymore, because your life, it's beautiful. You are a beauty in itself, but you are the one who needs first to recognize this and drop all this conditioning that is not serving your highest expression of being yourself. So thank you very much for being here. If this resonated with you, I invite you to let me know here in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You are peace itself. You just don't remember yet. And see you next time. Bye bye.